Hello everyone, my name is Elspeth, this is the Planeswalker Pantheon. Today we are going to be opening up a Zendikar Rising pre-release pack, and we are basically going to be building a sealed deck as though we're at a pre-release. Before we get to this though, I just want to sort of take a moment and just sort of say something a bit from the heart. This year has been pretty hard for all of us as Magic players. We can't go to our local game stores, on whatever nights that we all play on. We can't see the people that we usually play with. We can't hang out with the community that we sort of love. I just wanted to say thank you to especially my local game store. They're still open and, running business as normal, but as safe as you can in these sort of times. So I'd just like to give a shout out to my local game store, Guff Werribee. I'd love to give a shout out to Jim, who's the owner. He is the absolute best, and everyone who works there is just A+. If you live in Australia and you need to get stuff for, any of your gaming needs, really, not just Magic, but a wide variety of gaming needs, go to Guff Werribee. They are honestly the best people ever. Anyways, enough about that. Let's open this little pre-release kit and build a deck, shall we? Alright. Get that out of there. Alright, so if you've never seen a pre-release kit before, this is basically what they contain. You get 6 packs of whatever set, in this case Zendikar Rising. You get a dice, and I think they're all the same this time around, with the relevant set symbol on the number 20. You get a promo code. This is for MTG Arena. This is for 6 packs. I will share this thing as I've already redeemed mine and I don't need it anymore, so I'll flip that over. That is your code there for 6 Zendikar Rising booster packs in Magic the Gathering Arena. So if you have it, use it. If you don't need it, give it to someone who might need it. If you need it yourself, you're more than welcome to it. I don't need it. And you get a little thing. It's usually a little bit of flavour. In this case, it's all the equipment that is used for climbing the skyclaves of Zendikar, which is a little bit of cool insight into the story, and how to build a deck for pre-release, which is a sealed 60-card deck. And you also get a promo. So this is my one for this pack. This is Valakut Awakening. So for 2 and a Radiant instant, put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards +1. And it's actually one of the dual face cards, which actually catches quite well in the light. So that's the contents basically of a pre-release kit. Let's get into the packs. Alright, so we've got Anticognition, Kabira Outrider, Scavenge Blade, Chilling Trap, Ghastly Hunter, Droga Visionary. Oh, we got Prowling Felidar in the cool showcase frame. Canopy Baloth also in the showcase frame. Tuk Rubble Fort. Glacial Grasp. Our uncommons are Kargan War Leader, Shadow Stinger, and Song Mad Treachery, which is our dual face card. And our rare is Null Priest of Oblivion. So for 1 in a black, you get a creature vampire cleric. It's a 2/1. You can kick it for 3 in a black, and it has Menace and Lifelink. When Null Priest of Oblivion enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, you return target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. And we've got, of course, our full art and our dual-faced reminder card. Alright, so that's there. Alright, let's go to the next one. So, Deliberate, Core Celebrant, Droga Visionary, Expedition Skulker, Strength of Solidarity, Living Tempest, Seagate Colossus, Disenchant, Turn Timber Ascetic, Stonework Pack Beast, Vine Gecko, Concerted Defense, Skyclave Cleric, which is our dual face card. Oh, that was all of our uncommons. That was really quick, I didn't even realise. And our rare is actually Relic Robber. So for 2 and a rare, you get a creature Goblin Rogue as a 2/2 with haste. Whenever Relic Robber deals combat damage to a player, that player creates an 0/1 colours Goblin Construct artifact creature. Token with this creature can't block, and at the beginning of your upkeep, this creature deals 1 damage to you. Alright, so that's our plans. And we've got a kitty. So we've got Smite the Monstrous, Scorch Rider, Into the Royal with brand new items, so happy to see this back in Zendikar. Mind Drain, Adventure Awaits, Guldra's Mucklord, Risen Riptide, Marasa Brute, Utility Knife, Sizzling Barrage, Base Camp, Concerted Defense is our first. As a second uncommon, our first uncommon is Base Camp, Umara Mystic, and our rare is actually one of the dual-faced land cards. So this is the Clearwater Pathway. So it'll come in as either a blue source or as a black source. So there's some cool fixing there. We've got a Forest and another dual-faced card. Inordinate Rage, Field Research, Cliffhaven Soul Sword, so we might have a bit of a Warriors theme. Might of Marasa, Ghastly Gloomhunter, Tuk Rubblefort, Glacial Grasp, Makindiox, Dreadworm, Grotag Night Runner is our first uncommon. Core Blade Master is our second uncommon. Our third uncommon is a Black Bloom Rogue, and that's our dual face card. And our rare is the Scoot Swarm Shambler. So for a single black, you get a creature fungus beast when it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter becomes target of a spell an opponent controls, create a 1/1 green insect, and you can pay 1 and tap to put a +1/+1 counter on Swarm Shambler. And we've got a foil Into the Royal. Got a mountain and our dual face. And an Angel Heart Protector, Synchronized Spellcraft, Tazim Royal Mage, Blood Beckoning, Hagra Constrictor, Broken Wings, Utility Knife, Nihiri's Binding, Dreadworm, Makindiox in the showcase, Lull Mage's Familiar is our first uncommon, Sign of the Swarm is our second uncommon. Our third uncommon is Makindi Stampede, which is our dual-faced card, and our rare is Lunarch Aspirant. So for 1 and a white, you get a creature human cleric. It's a 1/1. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on the target creature you control. Then we've got our swamp and our 1/1 insect, and our last pack. So we have a Teeter Peak Ambusher, Anti-Cognition, Kimbira Outrider, Territorial Scythe Cat, Nakama Skitter Sneak, Malakir Blood Priest, Cleansing Wildfire, Cunning Geyser Mage, Seagate Banneret, Spare Supplies, Blood Chief's Thirst, which is our first uncommon, Shatterskull Minotaur, which is our second uncommon. Our third uncommon is Vastwood Fortification, and our rare is Crawling Baron. So it's a land, it taps to add colours. You can pay 4 mana to put 2 +1/+1 counters on Crawling Barons, and you may have it become a 0/0 elemental creature until end of turn. It's still a land, and we have an island and our dual-face check card. Alright guys, time for me to take a little moment to start building this deck, and we will be right back. And we're back. So what we've got here is a nice little black-white seal deck. I'm going to go through each of the CMCs and sort of talk about why I've included the cards, and sort of, why I think they're good in the deck, and the sort of the idea that we're going for. So, start from the 1-drop spot. We have no creatures, but we do have a couple of really good spells. So, we've got Blood Beckoning. So, for 1 mana, it's just it's a raise dead. You get a creature from your graveyard into your hand. Great, fine. But if you kick it, you get 2 instead, so it's nice for the late game. And we've also got Bloodchief's Thirst, which is a sorcery, but it's probably one of the better removal spells. From 1 mana, can destroy a target creature or planeswalker with converted mana cost 2 or less. So great for early game removal. Otherwise, if you can kick it for an extra 2 and a black, you can kill anything instead, which is great. In our 2-drop spot, we have Malakia Blood Priest. So for 1 and a black, you get a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures in your party. At best, we can do this for 3. There is like a rogue in here, but it's mostly clerics and warriors. So at best, we can do it for 2 guaranteed most of the time. We have 2 copies of Ghastly Gloomhunter. So for 1 and a black, you get a creature zombie bat. It's a 1/1, but if we can kick it for an extra 3 and a black, we can put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. It has flying lifelink. The lifelink will come into play a little bit later. We have an Expedition Skulker, so this is one of our rogues. So for 1 and a black, you get a creature vampire rogue. It's a 2/1. It has death touch as long as you control another rogue. It's not going to happen all the time. It's just a filler for the deck, really. Next, we've got Null Priest of Oblivion. So for 1 and a black, you get a creature vampire cleric. It's a 2/1 with menace and lifelink. If we can kick it, we can return a target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. And, it's just a really strong... It's another sort of raised dead effect that actually puts it into play rather than just into our hand. Skyclave Cleric. It's a 2 mana 1/3 core cleric. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. It's a 1/3. This is just a good little early defensive play if I find my opponents are being really aggressive. If they end up not being aggressive and I end up drawing this later in the game, it is a land that I can just put into the battlefield tapped. Luminarch Aspirant. So for 1 and a white, it's a 1/1 creature human cleric. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. I'm hoping to get out of control with this card as much as possible. Say, put it on some of my early creatures to make them better. Put them on those, the Gloom Hunters to make them big threats. And make them want to kill other things rather than this. And Cliffhaven Sellsword, it's a 2 mana 3/1. It's okay. It's filler. It does the job, and it's a warrior, which might help out with some of our that one party card that we do have. Mind Drain. This is again a little bit of filler, but the life gain is sort of key here, as we'll get to a little bit later. Target opponent discards 2 cards, mills a card, and loses a life. So effectively, you're getting rid of 3 of their cards and just doing a little bit of damage to them. Nahiri's Binding is great removal. So for 1 and 2 white, enchant a creature of Planeswalker, enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. The reason why they include Planeswalkers on here is because Planeswalker loyalty abilities are considered activated abilities, so therefore it can actually stop any Planeswalkers in its tracks as well. Haggard Constrictor. So for 2 and a black, you get a creature snake. It's a 0/0. It comes in as a 2/2, so it's a 3 mana 2/2, which is fine. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has menace, so it's great with the Lunarch Aspirant. So it makes all of our creatures gives us creatures with menace. Black Bloom Rogue. So 2 and a black, it's a 2/3. It's a human rogue. It has menace as well. Black Bloom Rogue gets +3/+0 as long as their opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. This is fine for late game. Otherwise, a 3 mana 2/3 with menace is great just on its own. We have Core Celebrant. So for 2 and a white, you get a Core Cleric. It's a 1/4. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. And Angel Heart Protector. When it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains indestructible. So again, it's just a little bit of protection. It helps just push an attack through. It's pretty decent. Smite the Monstrous. So this is something I'd play more in Sealed, I believe, rather than Draft, because it does, for the mana cost, it doesn't quite line up, but it help take out a big beefy creature. You always need that in your decks. And I've got a Prowling Felidar, so for 3 and a white, you get a 2/3 creature with Vigilance. It has landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under our control, we could put a +1/+1 counter on it, which goes great with the Constrictor, and it also goes great with the Luminarch Aspirant as well, because we can just keep piling on counters even if we can't trigger landfall. Kibera Outrider, so it's a 4-mana 3/3 human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature in your party. Usually this will be a +2/+2, which is decent. If we're lucky, if we have the any of the smaller rogues in play still, it could be a 3/3. But 2/2 is usually enough to push through an attack sometimes. Makindi Stampede, so for 3 and 2 white, it's a sorcery. Creatures you control get +2/+2. This card is effectively free because it also is a land that we can play as well if we happen to draw it a little bit too early. Sign on the Swarm. Now this is where all of our life gain synergies come into effect. So for 3 and 2 black, you get a 3/3 Vampire Cleric. It has flying. Whenever you gain life, you put a +1/+1 counter on Sign of the Swarm. So you can imagine, say, we have a game where we've sort of gone a little bit long with our core Celebrant still in play. We sort of flood the board a little bit. Each creature entering is a trigger of life gain. So, this gets really big. And because it's counters with the Constrictor, it'll also have Menace as well. Dreadworm, so 4 and a black for a 5/4 creature Worm Horror. It has landfall. Whenever a land comes into play under your control, it gains indestructible. If you can keep triggering this, it just makes it really hard for your opponents to attack through, and just makes life a bit of a misery for them. And also, finally, we have a Makindi Ox. So for 4 and a white, we have a 4/4 creature Ox with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature an opponent controls. So that's also a good way to sort of continue pushing through damage. Then we'll just add some lands to this. Just 23 lands, split as evenly as possible among black and white. We do have some dual face cards, which will take up some space, but I like to play it as though I'd be able to play every card in the set. I don't know what the exact ratio is as of yet between dual face cards and land ratios. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough of building a sealed deck. Please don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe. That lets people know that we exist. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook at the Planeswalker Pantheon. All the links will be down below. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.